Hello, my name is Joshua Johns. I am attending Morehouse College, and my major and degree will be computer science. This is my Guess the Number final project for the PX3 coding program that me and my colleagues Caleb Gray, Johnny Atkins, Desmond Finch, and Jairus Bates all collaborated and worked on. And we used the Python coding format in order to make it all happen. So what me and my group first did is that we all split up the specific jobs for our project simultaneously in order to lessen the workload while also communicating with one another and working alongside each other in order to improve said code or give off suggestions. So the very first part was my job, which was of course to set up the intro to the Guess the Number game, in which you are welcomed by the code and you enter your name in order to properly format it and be able to play it. What I did was I set up the get random number function in order to properly set up the one between 100 necessity that the game needed in order to do the proper guessing. And once I set that variable up, what I did was I used a variable in order to I used the letter Z in order to set it up and make the random number become a function, and then I return Z in order to finalize it so that it may finally be a part of the overall code. Then I set up another function called play game, which would allow us to try again in the future shortly after. And I made the function print welcome to the Guess Number game, enter your name. Then I created an output integer in which you would have to put your name by inputting, and the output would then print out hello name. So that was my bit. The next bit was second bit called I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. This was done by my colleague Jairus. What he did is that he printed I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100 shortly after my portion of the project, which was enter your name bit. And then he set up the variables. We set up both the numbers and the attempts of guessing so that the game would properly mesh well after you put a specific input in. And he made the specific number 7 just as a starter thing, but you can always edit the 7 to make it any randomized number by putting in get random number like so. And this will therefore make it so that any number you put in could potentially be the correct one, not just specifically 7. So with that being the case, he also set up the attempts, such as the attempts starting and the max attempts being given, and then he used a while loop component in order to make sure that the attempts would be less than the max attempts and allow the player to try as many times needed, along with making an input integer in which the player would be able to make their guess by putting in the right number and making it reality. Next up is the too high, too low option. This was also done by Jairus. He made a if statement, and then he made it so that the current variable that we created that was defined called guess would be less than the number, and if it is greater than, and if guess the number is greater than the number, then you would get the output guess too high, try again. However, there is also an elif statement in which should your guess be less than the required number, it would print out the output guess too low, try again. And Should this be the opposite case, such as the random number you do properly need to put in order to win the game, you would get congratulations, you guessed it. Not only that, but he also added an attempt plus equals 1 in order to create an infinite loop for as many attempts. And he used an additional if statement where the max attempts would print out sorry, used up all max attempts. The number was, of course, number. My other colleague, Desmond Finch, worked on the congratulatory remarks, and what he did was he set up an else statement in which, should you properly guess the number, you would get the output, congratulations, you guessed it. And if you did not, then you would say, sorry, used up all max attempts, the number was number. Next up is play again. This specific function was made by Johnny, and how they did it was that he defined the main operation, the main function that would call the overall function of the code, and while true, as in while the code is currently taking place, it would give us the option to play a game as set up earlier. If you inputted the proper answer. If you inputted yes, then the function would call upon play game once more, and you would be sent back to the welcome to the number guessing game title, where you can put in your name and try the game once again. And if you put no, then you would receive thanks for playing. This function was created by Caleb, and what he did was he used an if statement in order to make sure that if the player put in yes, you would properly, hold on, it's supposed to be no, I apologize. If you put in the word no, then the game would be over and you would get a thank you for playing, goodbye. And finally, we made it so that the name was equal to the main, which was the function that we called upon earlier, and finally put main parentheses open and closed in order to finally tie it all in and finalize the coding that we developed. And here is, of course, the entire script of our code, the finalized prototype. As you can see, it matched the code that was currently present on our presentation. And now we're going to try it out. Welcome to Number Guessing Game. As you can see, the function is working properly. Let me put in my name, Josh. Hello, Josh. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. Make your guess. Don't mind if I do. So what happens if we put the number 56? We guess too high. Alright, well, what if we put in the number 14? Also too high. The number 5? Too low. Alright, so how about we put in 6? Still too low. What about 7? Congratulations, we guessed it. Now, the answer we have for the play again segment is either yes or no, which was set up, of course, at the end here. If you want to play again, and if you don't play again, then put no. Now, we could say no, and we'll get the thank you for playing goodbye, but I want to see what happens if we run out of attempts, so let me just go higher and higher as time goes on. The play game function is returned, and we go right back to square one. I put in my name as so. there seems to be an error in our repeat process of the game. So allow us to run A again, and we should be right back to square one. That is one foresight that we seem to have missed, but now that we know what we made a mistake on, we can properly fix it in the future should we need to replicate such a project. So, let me put my name in, and it says I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100, make your guess. I'm gonna do 78. Too high, try again. I'm going to go further upward just to see what happens once we run out of attempts. Guess too high, try again. 45, guess too high. 66, too high. What about 92? Too high. 12, also too high. 4, too low. What about 8? Too high again. What about 9? 10. We used up all of our attempts. And of course, we are given the option, do you want to play again? Yay or nay? I'm going to choose nay to wrap this up. And of course, we get the expected response, thank you for playing, goodbye, from the end of the main definition. So yeah, that was the Guess the Number Python coding game that me and my colleagues in the PX3 coding program manufactured together. And that's pretty much it.